Imagine trying to organize a library with about 1.8 million books.
Wow.
Yeah, it sounds difficult, but, theoretically doable, right?
I mean, with a big enough spreadsheet.
Right. But now imagine that those books are, well, they're constantly moving.
Okay, that makes it harder.
Right. Like some are perched on these freezing, wind-whipped mountain peaks. Others are hidden deep inside lush, silent, deciduous forests.
Yeah.
Some are completely submerged in the ocean, and a few are even just hanging out next to boiling hot springs in the middle of a barren desert.
Which is just wild to think about.
It is. And to make it even more complicated, these quote-unquote books are actually living things.
Right.
I mean, we are talking about the sheer, almost overwhelming beauty of a galloping horse, or, the flawless, synchronized coordination of migrating birds across the sky.
Yeah, or even like the terrifying primal power of an attacking shark.
Exactly. Just picturing the extraordinary range of habitats and the creatures that occupy them is, honestly, it's enough to leave you completely speechless.
It really forces a kind of structural awe, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at a valley blanketed in diverse flowers, or when you zoom in on the intense ecological conflicts and, well, the cooperation happening within a single population,
Yeah.
or even if you just look at the molecular traffic jam happening inside a single microscopic cell, you are confronting a staggering level of complexity.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the central question that arises when looking at the 1.7 to 1.8 million known described species on Earth is simply what indeed is life.
Right.
And we've got a massive stack of biological sources for this deep dive today to understand how scientists even begin to make sense of that staggering biodiversity.
Yeah, and to even approach that, we really have to split the inquiry in half.
How do you mean?
Well, asking what is life actually bundles two very different questions together.
Okay.
The first is deeply philosophical, like what is the purpose of life?
Right, the big existential stuff.
Exactly. But the second is purely technical, which is what defines the living as opposed to the non-living. And as scientists looking through these sources today for you, we are going to leave the philosophy entirely on the shelf.
No philosophy today, folks.
None. We are strictly focusing on the technical mechanics of the living world.
Which honestly feels like it should be a straightforward, objective process.
Yeah.
But looking back at human history, our relationship to the living world was anything but systematic.
Oh, not at all.
We actually had a massive historical hurdle to get over before we could even start classifying things properly.
Yeah, because early humans easily perceived the difference between inanimate matter and, living organisms.
Sure.
But their reaction to a raging fire or a massive sea storm was rooted in the exact same emotion they felt when encountering a powerful animal.
Which was what?
It was a deep sense of awe, combined with, well, a healthy dose of fear.
I mean, you can't blame them.
No, totally.
If you're an early human and the wind is ripping ancient trees out of the ground, that inanimate force feels incredibly alive and aggressive.
Exactly. So out of that awe and fear, early humans actually deified inanimate matter. The wind, the sea, the fire, they became gods.
Right.
And they elevated certain plants and animals to that exact same godlike status.
Wow.
So the systematic, dispassionate description of living organisms, including human beings ourselves, that did not happen until much, much later.
And even when we finally stopped deifying the forest and started describing it, we used this terribly flawed, selfish filter.
Yeah, the sources call it an anthropocentric view of biology.
Right, because early classifications were entirely based on our own basic needs.
Yeah, survival, basically.
Exactly. Humans only asked 3 questions, like, can I eat this? Can I use this for clothing? Will this give me shelter?
It was a system built entirely around utility.
Right.
If a plant or animal didn't serve a direct, observable purpose for human survival, it was essentially just ignored in these early taxonomies.
Which is crazy because looking at biology purely through the lens of human use completely restricted our progress. It put blinders on human knowledge.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, if your only metric for studying a tree is how well it burns for firewood,
You miss everything else.
yes, you completely miss the complex way that tree interacts with the soil, or how it processes sunlight, or, how it supports 1,000 other tiny life forms.
Yeah.
Societies that indulged in this anthropocentric view only registered very limited progress in biological knowledge.
It really took a monumental shift in human thinking to break out of that trap.
Yeah.
Moving away from that survival-driven bias forced the invention of detailed systems of identification, nomenclature, and classification out of pure necessity.
Right.
And shifting to systematic descriptions brought about a profound revelation that upended how we view our place in the world.
You mean the realization that living organisms share similarities?
Yes, but specifically how deep those similarities go. The realization was that all living organisms share fundamental traits horizontally, meaning across all present-day species, and vertically, meaning we share traits with ancestors that lived millions of years ago.
Wow.
We weren't just the isolated, dominant users of nature anymore. We were physically and historically woven into it.
Which is incredibly humbling.
It humbled humanity. In many ways, that exact humbling realization birthed the modern cultural movements for the conservation of the biodiversity.
We went from, how can I exploit this, to, wait, I am fundamentally related to this.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a massive paradigm shift. But to move from that philosophical realization to the rigorous modern science we have today, somebody actually had to write the rule book.
And few people did more to write that rule book than a man born in Germany in 1904.
Ernst Mayr.
Yes.
The sources actually call him the Darwin of the 20th century. And honestly, his life reads like a fictional epic about a scientist.
It really does.
We are talking about an almost 80-year career. I mean, he joined Harvard's faculty in 1953, formally retired in 1975, but he just kept going, living to be 100 years old before passing in 2004.
What's fascinating here is how Mayr almost single-handedly shifted the entire focus of evolutionary biology.
How so?
Well, before Mayr, biology was often heavily focused on just describing and cataloging traits, just, making lists.
Right.
But Mayr made the origin of species diversity the central question. He wanted to know why there were so many different types of life, not just what they look like.
And to do that, he didn't just stay in one academic lane, right?
No, not at all.
He bridged ornithology, the study of birds, with taxonomy, zoogeography, and the philosophy of biology.
Yeah, and because of that massive interdisciplinary perspective, he was able to pioneer the currently accepted definition of a biological species.
Which sounds basic, but defining what actually makes one group of animals a distinct species from another is incredibly difficult when nature is constantly mutating and evolving.
That was notoriously difficult.
Yeah.
But it is the foundational concept we still use today.
Yeah.
His work was so universally recognized that he won what is widely regarded as the Triple Crown of Biology.
Which is?
The Balzan Prize in 1983, the International Prize for Biology in 1994, and the Cranford Prize in 1999.
That is wild, that one person could have that kind of impact. Okay, so Ernst Mayr gives us this rigorous definition of what a species actually is.
Right.
But theoretically, defining a species doesn't solve the massive logistical nightmare of having 1.7 to 1.8 million of them.
No, it definitely doesn't.
Like, if I find a specific useful plant in my area, I'm going to give it a local name.
Sure.
But someone in a neighboring country, or even just the next valley over, will have a completely different local name for the exact same plant.
Exactly.
How do scientists actually communicate without creating a modern Tower of Babel?
The problem of local names is severe. They vary wildly from place to place, even within the borders of a single country.
Oh, I bet.
Scientists realized early on that without standardized naming, global collaboration would be impossible.
Right.
So they established international, universal procedures to ensure a particular organism is known by the exact same name everywhere on Earth. This process is called nomenclature.
So who guards the rules? Who's in charge?
Well, for plants, scientists use the principles provided in the International Code for Botanical Nomenclature, or ICBN.
ICBN, okay.
And for animals, taxonomists rely on the International Code of Zoological Nomenclature, the ICZN.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Having a governing code is great, but the actual format they settled on is brilliantly simple.
It really is.
We have to credit Carolus Linnaeus for his ingenious two-word naming system called binomial nomenclature.
Yes.
Let's make this concrete for you listening. Think of a mango, just a delicious everyday mango.
Okay.
Its scientific name is Mangifera indica. How does it get that specific tag?
Let's break down the mechanics of Mangifera indica.
Yeah, let's do it.
First, biological names are generally derived from Latin, irrespective of where the organism actually comes from in the world.
Okay.
And when printed, these names are always italicized or underlined if you're handwriting them.
Which gives it a sort of classic universal stamp that transcends any modern language.
Exactly.
And the two words themselves, I assume the first word is the broader category.
Yeah, the binomial part literally means two names. The first word represents the genus.
Okay.
So for our mango, Mangifera is the genus. The second component denotes the specific epithet. So indica identifies the specific species within that genus.
Got it. Genus first, specific epithet second. And I've noticed there are strict capitalization rules when I read these names in the sources.
Oh, very strict.
Yeah.
The genus must always start with a capital letter. So capital M for Mangifera.
Right.
The specific epithet must start with a lowercase letter. So lowercase I for indica.
But sometimes at the very end of the italicized Latin, there's just a random non-italicized abbreviation.
Oh, right.
Like you might see Mangifera indica lin. What is the lin doing there?
That is the author's citation. It appears after the specific epithet at the very end to indicate who first formally described the species.
Okay.
In this case, Lin stands for Linnaeus himself.
So Linnaeus effectively gave us a universal tagging system. A mango is Mangifera indica, whether you are researching it in Tokyo, Toronto, or Timbuktu. We have the tags. But I mean, 1.8 million unorganized tags is just a giant pile of data.
It's just noise.
Right. How do we organize these distinct biological entities into a system that actually tells us something about the world?
That requires classification.
Okay.
Classification is the process of grouping anything into convenient categories based on easily observable characters.
Right.
The scientific term for these distinct categories or ranks is taxa. And the rigorous process of classifying living organisms into these different taxas is called taxonomy.
Let me try a visual analogy for you listening. Just picture a dog. Specific dog.
Okay.
Now, suppose I use a broader category and say mammal. The image in your mind broadens, you still picture the dog, but now you might also imagine a bear or a mouse, animals with body hair and external ears.
Right. It zooms out.
Exactly. But if I narrow it back down to Alsatian, the image snaps into tight focus again. Dogs, mammals, Alsatians, these are all convenient taxa we use to mentally organize the living world.
That illustrates the concept of hierarchical levels perfectly.
Oh.
Taxonomy isn't just a flat sorting floor. It involves a hierarchy of steps, where each step represents a rank or category. All these categories together constitute the taxonomic hierarchy.
So we're essentially climbing a taxonomic ladder, starting from the specific and moving to the incredibly broad.
Yes, but before we take the first step, there is a fundamental rule you must remember.
Okay, lay it on me.
As you climb higher up this ladder, from the lowest category to the highest, the number of common characteristics shared by the organisms strictly decreases.
Okay, so higher up means fewer shared traits.
Right. Lower taxa share an enormous amount of characteristics. Higher taxa share very few.
Let's test that rule. Ground floor of the ladder, species.
Okay.
We consider a group of individual organisms with fundamental similarities to be a species.
Right.
We should be able to distinguish one species from a closely related one based on distinct morphological differences, meaning physical shape or structure.
Yeah.
For example, let's look at the lion. Its scientific name is Panthera leo. That's right. The tiger is Panthera tigris. The leopard is Panthera pardus. Leo, tigris, and pardus are three distinct specific epithets. They are distinct species.
Notice, however, that they all share that first word, panthera.
Ah!
That pulls us up to the next rung on the ladder. Genus. A genus comprises a group of related species which has more characters in common in comparison to species of other genera.
Okay.
The lion, tiger, and leopard share a massive amount of physical features, so they are grouped together into the genus Panthera.
Okay, stepping up again. What if we want to include my neighbor's house cat?
Oh, nice.
It looks like a tiny tiger, but it isn't a Panthera.
No, it's not. To include the house cat, we move up to the family category.
Family.
This category groups related genera that have fewer similarities than they did at the genus level.
Right, following the rule.
Exactly. We take our roaring big cats in the genus Panthera, and we group them with the genus Felis, which includes your standard house cats.
Okay.
Together, they form the family Felidae.
So big cats and little cats are united in the family Felidae. But dogs are totally different.
Yeah, very different.
They are their own family, Canidae. If I wanted to force cats and dogs into the same category, I'd have to step up the ladder again, right?
You step up to order.
Here.
Order is an assemblage of families which exhibit a few similar characters. We take the cat family, Felidae, and the dog family, Canidae, and we group them together based on their shared predatory features into the order Carnivora.
The golden rule is working.
It is.
Because the lion and tiger sharing a genus have way more in common than a house cat and a golden retriever sharing an order.
Exactly.
The shared traits are rapidly decreasing. So we have our dogs and cats in the order Carnivora. Let's go bigger.
Next is class. This category groups related orders, and this is where it gets humbling.
Why humbling?
Well, we take the order Carnivora, the tigers, cats, and dogs, and place them alongside the order Primata.
Primates.
Yeah, which comprises monkeys, gorillas, and us humans, Homo sapiens.
Oh.
Despite our differences, we share enough traits like body hair and milk production to all be placed into the class Mammalia.
It is wild to think that humans and dogs are sitting in the same taxonomic class.
It is.
But to step up to the next level phylum, we have to find a category broad enough to fit a human, a dog, a shark, and an eagle.
Right. And to group class Mammalia with fishes, amphibians, reptiles, and birds, we have to look for very deep fundamental features.
Like what?
In this case, the presence of a notochord, which is essentially the evolutionary rough draft of a backbone and a dorsal hollow neural system. Based on those few common features, all of these incredibly diverse animals are lumped into the phylum Chordata.
That is a massive umbrella.
It is. Oh, and as a quick side note, if we were categorizing plants instead of animals, we would use the term division instead of phylum.
Good to know. And finally, we reach the top of the ladder. Kingdom.
The top rung.
All animals belonging to various phyla are assigned to the absolute highest category, Kingdom Animalia. And all plants from their various divisions are assigned to Kingdom Plantae.
Exactly.
The shared characteristics at this point are practically just, multicellular and consumes organic material.
Bare minimum traits.
Right. We've traveled from the highly specific Pantherolio all the way up to the massive, sprawling umbrella of Kingdom Animalia.
That ladder is our map of the living world.
So what does this all mean? Why spend time walking up this ladder with all its Latin names?
That's the big question.
Because this isn't just a giant filing cabinet. Systematics takes into account evolutionary relationships.
Yes, exactly.
This massive taxonomy proves our profound connection to the natural world.
It really does.
When we see a human and a tiger grouped into the same class, or a bird and a shark grouped into the same phylum, we aren't just looking at a clever sorting system, we are looking at our own ancient family tree.
Yeah.
We started this deep dive talking about early humans trembling in awe and fear, feeling completely separate from the terrifying forces of nature.
Right, the anthropocentric view.
The anthropocentric view blinded us, but modern taxonomy categorization places us right back in the middle of it. We are not above nature. We are deeply biologically embedded within it.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this rigid system raises an important question.
Oh.
The sources note that as we explore new areas and continue to investigate old ones, new organisms are continuously being identified.
Right, we're finding new stuff all the time.
Exactly. We just outlined a taxonomy based on shared characteristics that decrease as you move up the ladder. But what happens when we inevitably discover something that refuses to fit?
Oh, wow.
What happens when a deep-sea submersible, or, a probe in a harsh desert, finds an organism that possesses a combination of traits that completely shatters the boundaries of our current kingdoms?
That would be chaotic.
How much of this meticulously human-made ladder will nature eventually force us to rewrite?
The next time you find yourself standing in a lush forest or staring out at the ocean, remember that our Latin-named categories are just our best current attempt to organize the chaos of deep time. Somewhere out there in that awe-inspiring expanse, there's probably a living thing just waiting to break all of our rules.